Hello, welcome back to my channel, and if you're here watching this video, you heard that the Acura RL Brake calipers from 2005 to 2012 fit on the Honda Civic Sport Hatch, and I believe almost all of the 10th gen Civics. So with just an adapter and pretty much building the list exactly how you want it. I have the components that I use listed here, but again, I believe this could be up to your own discretion and also not liable for any of the parts that you try to use and or the FastBrakes kit. But wanted to give you a quick breakdown. I did buy pretty much almost everything that I possibly could to also keep this very budget friendly. The first one being is the Acura RL calipers. I did buy them used. I did find them on OfferUp for about $120 for the front pair. They were in pretty bad condition, but at the same time I just wanted to see if this would work first before actually committing to like an actual full repaired kit and cleaning this off and everything. I did find a lot of issues with just a lot of brake dust and oxidation that happened to the actual caliper itself. I did try to clean off as much as I could with a wire brush on my drill, and then also some steel brushes. Also, just keep in mind that the reason why I cleaned it off was just to also see if there was any damage to like the actual pad shims, and then any of the piston boots that were, or the piston boots on the actual caliper itself. I did pretty much get almost everything off. I did shave off the Acura RL caliper logo just so that I can actually paint it, and I did actually get some really good results out of it, which I'll be showing soon. But the cleaning process can be pretty tedious. I did take a couple days just cleaning it out, and the good thing is you can still use your car while you're cleaning off all of the brake dust, because you'll still have your regular brakes. So do please take your time on this. Now when it came to painting it, I did put a chrome primer and clear coated it after I painted it green, and it did come out really well. And once it got into the car, it actually looked a lot better than when it did in this video. So my friends were here the day that I started this, so they wanted to learn how to get this done as well. Now the first thing we did was take off the rotor. This was rusted onto there. I mean, even with like 20,000 miles on this car, they were still pretty rusted, but you know, nothing a hammer couldn't persuade to get off. Once we got that off, it was pretty important to make sure that we clean off the wheel hub as best as possible. So some brake cleaner, also some rust remover, and a metal brush pretty much took off all the calcium and all the rust. But it did take the most time. I think this was about the most amount of time we spent on the whole process, just because it needs to sit properly, since you aren't using a set screw anymore and you are using aftermarket 350Z rotors. So cleaning this off was pretty necessary. And then also we wanted to make sure that, since I use open-ended lug nuts, I also wanted to make sure that we cleaned off those as well. Now once we got the actual RL caliper adapter onto here from FastBrakes, it is recommended to use thread locker and the blue thread locker, just to make sure that this doesn't come off at any point, since you only are torquing these bolts down to 40 foot-pounds, and that's 40 foot-pounds for every single bolt that you use for the caliper adapter. So there's 4 bolts, there's 2 that actually hold it in. Now once those 2 bolts are in, you want to make sure that you torque them down to 40 foot-pounds before proceeding. And what we did was pretty much just, you know, torqued them down both, and then also just went back over it again just to make sure that they were actually torqued down to 40, because 40 to me really sounds not that tight, but I drove this for 2 months and never had a single problem. I went back in just to make sure everything was still torqued down properly, and it was totally fine. Next major step, the kit comes with a hub ring, and this is also just to make sure that when you size up to the 350Z Brembo rotors, it doesn't have any play in it, so that you know you're not getting any vibration through braking. So we try to set that in as best as we could. It went in pretty okay, and once we put the caliper on, or the actual rotor on, we didn't have any problems with the way it was sitting. So now these rotors were from AutoZone. They were the cheapest that I could find, so they don't actually have any coating on the rotor itself, so they did rust. but I ended up opting for R1 concept drilled slotted brake rotors with nickel plating, and those ones didn't rust around the hub. So pretty much just try to work with what you have, and this is what we had at the moment, and this is what we can get as fast as we could. So I mean, $60 a rotor really isn't that bad, and they worked really well since they were brand new and they were really nicely made. So when installing this, you pretty much only have to use a couple wheel lug nuts, but we actually wanted to make sure that we were doing this correctly, so we ended up tightening down all 5 lugs with an impact gun, and this pretty much just made sure that we were mimicking exactly how it goes on once the tire is on the actual hub. Now after the rotor was set in place, what we did was we measured up the caliper to the rotor itself just to make sure that the rotor was in the middle, and then we used the longer bolts with the largest washer that comes with the kit. Now if the kit comes with a bunch of washers, and you pretty much stack them just to make sure that they fit, because if you don't use it properly you can actually bottom out inside of the adapter and you won't get a proper fitment. So it's always best to sit there, check it just to make sure that you have no gaps and everything tightens down properly without any type of wiggling from the actual caliper itself once it's put on. Again, these will be torqued down to 40 foot-pounds, and you will be using a 21 millimeter. The actual bolts that use on the other side of the adapter were 19, so these ones are a little bit bigger, but no major issues or anything like that. Once those are all torqued down, we did put in the brake pads themselves. This is pretty much where we were in cruise control. This is pretty much just like any brake replacement that you would have on a 4-piston, 6-piston, pretty much a closed-ended caliper. So we put the brake pads in, and then we added the retaining clip to it, and then also there is a little tiny retaining wire piece that does come on the back of these calipers just to keep everything in place. And that was probably one of the hardest parts of this whole thing, is just getting this set in place because everything was so new. The pins and everything, they were from the original brake caliper itself, which we used, so we did resurface those. We did try to get them as clean as possible, but they were still kind of stubborn when putting this clip in. Once we got that clip in, you can see Candace right now, she was kind of struggling with it, but when she got it, boom, and that was pretty much it. After this, we worked on getting all of the brake lines in, and that was fairly simple. And I mean, pretty much anywhere you can find the Honda Civic brake line kit, and you could even use a stock one if that's what you want to do, but I recommend using the stainless steel just because you won't get any type of flexing in the rubber. So here are a couple shots of the actual car itself after it was done, and it turned out really well, and it filled in the wheel gap pretty well with my 18-inch rims. So yeah, if you guys have any questions, I'll see you guys down in the comment. If you guys liked the video, go ahead and like it, and if you want to see more, I'll see you in the next one. Thanks, bye.